Hello, hello, hello. I'm gonna wait for some people to get in here. How is everybody? Whoa, everybody just came in. Hey, Frazzled Mom. Hey, Rebellious. Hey, Punkette. Sorry, I'm just reading Discord. Sorry. Good, Punkette. Hey, Ass Hocket. So I'm gonna be real with you guys. I have my screen. I have my screen off because I've been crying like an hour. Hey, Denise. Hey, Grandma. You ever have one of those days where you just something hits you and you can't stop? So, so bear with me. But I have been maybe I'm PMSing, I don't know. Although I just had it. So I've been like seeing a lot of things like with Kylie, her mom, and this isn't I'm just making this an example. And like Eliza's husband and stuff, and people are like, well, they're not reacting a certain way. And like I've just been thinking about it, like what like how grieving has no bound. Like it okay, let me just explain to you. So I'm gonna give you something personal. All right, so I'm gonna hit you with it because I just need to talk it through. But so before I got married, uh, which was 16 years ago, my very best friend. Just give me a second. My very best friend in the whole world, who I grew up with from the time I was in fifth grade, uh, until she was 24, and we had kind of gone our separate ways a little bit, but um, like we still saw each other and stuff. Well, she was kind of very big into the drinking scene, and I wasn't. And sorry about sniffing. um, so I don't know this whole grief thing. I'll get to a point, I promise. But so it was a week before March 9th, and 2005, and I had seen her at a bar, and this is one of my most personal stories ever, so bear with me. I should probably have this on members only, but and I remember she said to me, "Hey, you want to go out tomorrow night, or do you want to go out next week?" And I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah," because she's older than me, and I really looked up to her, and um, she's my best friend, and even though life goes on, you kind of just lose touch a little bit, but we still saw each other, we still talked, and um, I said yes, but like I said, she was kind of into more of a party scene than I was, and so it was like March 8th, and remember I had said I'd go out with her, and she called me like around like midnight, and I was awake, and I knew she was at a bar, and I knew it was earlier than that, probably like, excuse me, like 10 probably, because she called me and I knew why she was calling me to go out with her. And because of that, I didn't answer the phone. And she decided to drive home. And she She was in a convertible, and so she left the bar, and I had gone to bed, didn't answer the phone, and she wrecked her car. Hey Rita, hey Emily. She wrecked her car, and sorry. Because it was a convertible and she flipped it, it snapped her neck. It was winter, so the top was up, but if you know what a convertible is, like obviously the top comes in, and it happened at 2:55 a.m. And the weirdest thing ever is that I rolled over in bed at like 2:53, and I never, had any idea why I rolled over in bed, but I think it was because that was about the time. Hey, Sailboat, I don't see you. I don't know why I can't see you. I don't have you blocked. That's okay, Cece. I mean, it was 16 years ago, but um, the next morning, her mom called and said she had passed. And obviously, like, the funeral was coming in, so they invited me to they wanted me to come to the funeral home with the family so that I could see her before calling hours. And because she was 24. And I'll never forget, like, seeing her for the first time, because it was an open casket, thinking, had I just answered the phone, had I just answered the phone, and it's, thanks, Judy, I'm not, this isn't for sad fishing. Thank you, Judy. It's, had I just answered the phone, and I've dealt a long time with it. I've gone to counseling for it and everything. Fast forward 16 years. And the people in Discord, I don't know what I'm kind of a little bit about this story, but when we moved back from Texas, I knew that her niece was, well, she never met her niece, but I knew that her niece was, in my daughter's grade. And what I didn't know is that they would end up being best friends and like best friends. And the problem is she looks her niece looks just like she did because she looks just like her mom, which is obviously her sister. And oh yeah, Rita, thanks. And so my daughter's in like the grade where I met my best friend, and so they play soccer together. And hold on, I'll show you a picture because I trust y'all. So they play soccer together, and so her aunt sent me this picture today. Thanks, Jen. Hey, Shalma, and I don't know what it was, but seeing my daughter with her, and then seeing her niece, and knowing it was like that grade that we met. I don't know, guys. Do you know, like grief just, uh, it sneaks up on you, and you think you've dealt with it. And so I went to the cemetery, and I thought that would help, but it didn't. And sometimes, and my point is, we criticize how somebody is, how Kylie's mom is dealing with her grief, or how Eliza's husband is dealing with his grief. And I think there are moments now where I grieve harder than I did then. And I'll show you a picture. I've got it up here. because I think had I just answered the phone, you know, yeah, right, Denise, you push it away, and I was like, I've been pushing off this live, and I think, and so this is the middle one. Let's see. The middle one, number 9, is my daughter. And then number 21 is my best friend's niece, which she never got to meet. But the interesting part is my daughter has worn number 9 for every sport she's ever played. And the reason that she wears number 9 is because of my best friend. That was my best friend's number. Well, good, Sean's princess. It must just be the thing. And like I said, they look, hey, Caddy, Texas, they look like twins, her niece and her. And she even has the same middle name. And the worst part is I'm gonna be real with you guys about something else. Is my daughter, who's right here, 9, her mom, number 21, hasn't been able to deal with her grief and walked out on her last February and just disappeared. And so now she lives with her dad. And I feel like, great, you failed your best friend, and then you like failed her sister. You couldn't even help her sister. Oh, thanks. Yeah, Jen. Yeah, my friend would say, and so every time I look at her and I just think this pain that this little 20, number 21, that she goes through losing, her mom walked out on her. And, she has an amazing aunt that she could never know. She's never gonna know. And I am really good about, I'm there for her. My daughter is such an amazing friend to her. In fact, she texted me this morning and said, Mommy is something. Um, And yes, my 12-year-old daughter still calls me mommy, and my 14-year-old son still sometimes calls me mommy. So said, is there something else I could do for Carly or whatever is her name? Because she just seems really quiet. And I said, no, you just, maybe, you just gotta let her work through it. You just gotta thanks, Jen. I don't usually come out here and cry like this. Uh and you just I think grief just hits my point. I think my point to all this is grief hits you in different ways at different times that you just don't even expect it. And I can't imagine what like Kylie's mom or Eliza's husband or anybody, like you think that Eliza's husband probably sits and goes, had I just gone bicycle, had I just cycled and not gone running that day, or let her go running that day, or Kylie's mom, had I just made her go to the car show, passed away 4 days. Yeah, Punkette, see, I'm so sorry. Driver in a rollover, summer of graduate. Wow. Sean's princess. Oh man. Thanks, Jen. I'm like, oh gosh, everyone's gonna think I'm like the sad fish on YouTube, but it's not. I think sometimes having a platform, we forget that a it's also a place to be real and to be like, look, my son lost his friend when he was 17 and was talking. Oh my gosh, Cece. I know, Denise. Thanks, Yvette. And I'll be okay and I bounce back, but it's just that initial like dealing with something similar that happened. Wow, Judy. Mommy still. Oh my gosh, Cece. Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. Wow. Yeah, and then there is S Hocket, and then like we had some of our one of our very best friends in Texas. He coached with me, and we were you know, he had a 7-year-old daughter that lived with him, and we said, "Hey," this was 4 years ago when we still lived in Texas, and he said, "Hey, tomorrow can you have Ryan, that's my husband, come over? We're gonna like have, I want to get this pool up for Kinsley," and we had all these plans, and we were gonna see each other the next day. And somewhere in the middle of the night, he had been drinking and he just took his own life. And I'll never, it's that feeling of like, and my daughter since that moment has never quite been the same because I remember going to her house, go rushing to with my other best friend, rushing to his parents' house to be with the 7-year-old daughter. And I mean, he had custody of her, right? So she called him her bubba, everything. Like they were, best friends. And his mom was grieving, and she will still say things her mom will say his mom will say, "We miss you so much," and stuff. His mom really clings to me, and that's a hard separation too because like as much as I we wanted to stay in Texas just for her, like obviously we have family here, we had, we wanted to come back for family, but um well, what happened was my daughter then went off to play with his 7-year-old daughter, but his 7-year-old daughter, y'all, is the one that found him. And because it was so fresh, what we did, we ended up, she told my daughter everything she saw when she found him. And so we ended up finding my daughter in like the closet, like what is going on. And she was explaining to me what she had told her, right down to, I mean, the worst graphic details. And at that time, my daughter was 10. And since then, my daughter has never, she has an anxiety that, I mean, we've obviously gotten her counseling, but I didn't know that that would be something that could actually give her PTSD. And it's like, well, Cece, you can understand because it wasn't just that she lost Gil. It wasn't just that she, automatically we made plans to go put a pool up and like that he was gone out of her life. But it was the fact that she had to, hear the awful, awful, just traumatic details. And she will text me now I mean, 20 times a day, like, like it has caused a lot of PTS and a lot of anxiety in her. Um, but I'm sitting here reading this chat and I'm thinking you guys are, so many of you are like grieving something and, you know, in some sort of pain, like I needed to hear this now. And I think as women and men, like we have to be so tough, right? We have to go through. Denise, it's super fresh. We have to keep pushing through and all that. But I think that's part of why I get so upset, so upset when like a victim's family is blamed or something. And I don't know the situation of Eliza's husband. He might be a really big jerk, but I also know that we all know, most of us here, from what I've seen, what it's like to be on that other side to say, had I just answered the phone, had I just said, "Gil, what's going on?" Do you know what I'm saying? Like, had we just, because things like that in an instant and things like this, you look back and just go, if I just could have done something different, I would have answered the phone. And like Jen, I think it was that said, or somebody in here said, even when my dad passed away, we couldn't even grieve it. Right. Well, they say, Punkette, that when people need you the most, when somebody passes, is months after the funeral because, like when it first happens, everybody's pouring on the love and everybody, like really hardcore. But then the funeral passes, and then you're just kind of left alone with your feelings. Oh my gosh, Punkette. I bet. I bet. Um, yeah, our human nature is just, I would have said, "Hey, my best friend's name was Billy Joe." It was like, "Billy, I can't go out right now, but you stay put. I'm gonna come get you," or something. First of all, I hate convertibles. Hate convertibles. And to this day, when my kids are like, "I want to get a convertible," I was like, "You absolutely will not get a convertible." And just to drive, I just well, and then you know my history too, but I do that to myself. But Jen, I know, and I don't. I think it's something that. Oh my gosh, rebellious. Like you know that. Like my friend would say, Parker or Jess, she would call me. Like, 'cause she was the tough one, right? So I remember her throwing somebody up against the wall that was being mean, a boy that was being mean or something at school. Like she was 2 years older, so she was like my protector, you know. And she would say, "It was me that did it. Like, stop right now. Like, what are you doing?" You know, she would not at all want me to feel this way. And I do have moments where I feel like she knows, like she knows I loved her and all that stuff. But and I think God has a very weird, you know, the way it works out. God has a weird way of working things out. Like the fact she's best friends with my daughter and they're in the same grade, you know, they've reconnected in the same grade that her and I met and stuff. It's like, all right, God, thanks. You know, that it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool how that works. Um, but I'm telling you, when I see her face sometimes with my daughter, and I look so much like my daughter, it still just is like that twinge of pain that I don't ever want my daughter to see because it's hard to explain. Because I'm happy that they're together, but I'm sad because I wish that my best friend could see that, if that makes sense. And right now she'd be saying, "Why are you spending time at the cemetery?" She'd be like, "Are you kidding me? Go hit a bucket of balls with your daughter." That's what she'd say. My dad said that to me after my mom died when I was 15, after a few months. He told me, "Yeah, see, a lot of time, and that's men so much of the time." Exactly. Exactly, S. Hockett. I don't, neither one of, you know what? I probably, look, I probably would have been drinking right along with her. We both would have gotten in the car. That's just how it is. Because I did whatever, and part of why I didn't go was because I did whatever she did. Like because I thought she was, you know, like we all know we've had the older friend, and so I did what she did, and so I probably would have drank as well. And I'm telling you, guys, when I saw her, trigger warning too, rebellious. Can you write trigger warning so I can put this up? Oh, I know, Jen. And like, you know, she didn't stand a chance because her parents were um both alcoholics, and you know she just took that path. But I mean, nothing is worse than pulling your best friend's mom off her casket, you know, like nothing is. But when I saw her, she looked normal. She looked normal, and it was legitimately, they said, had she not had a convertible she would have survived because it just, it's that top. Back then, I was 2005. They probably make them safer now, but the tops on convertibles, they say, are just so dangerous because they just crush. And like her mom kind of lost her mind after that. And you know she does a lot of the, she puts the, what do you call those things at the bottom of the hill, she puts like the shrines and stuff. Hey Sally, we're just talking about grief. And I never go down that road because I hate those shrines. So just a FYI, if I ever pass, please don't put one of those shrines because I don't want people driving by have to think of me, you know, like it's just horrible. My husband's sister was driving with her best friend, their two babies there. Oh my gosh, yeah, 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 that totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Yeah, so it's just this hi Beatlemaniac. Sorry if I missed you. Like I said, I usually don't come on here and be this real, but it has just totally just hit me like out of nowhere the last week. And then I look at my phone, I saw this picture of them. Somebody put it on Facebook before I did, and I'm just sitting here sobbing. And I'm like, I got to get to the cemetery. And I went to the cemetery thinking, oh, this is going to make me feel better. Didn't make me feel better. Oh my gosh, Sean's Princess. Yeah, Denise, I mean, Denise, gosh, in the worst horrific way, Denise has experienced grief with, you know, her fiance passing and such a horrible crime. And I couldn't understand why I was getting so mad at some of the conspiracies. I even told Punkette, I'm getting ridiculously mad at people blaming Kylie's mom. Why am I getting no Beatlemaniac, it's just from crying. I'm like, why am I getting so mad about this? And then I just realized it's because it was just tweaking my own pain, my own guilt, because we all go through, I think, everyone here that's grieving, feel like you've all said in some ways that you deal with guilt. And, Jen said, she can relate. You just think if we all ask those questions of if I had just. And, yeah, like I try to explain to my husband, but he's never really dealt with grief, so he doesn't fully comprehend. I think unless you've lost somebody, it's very hard to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. It is, because I think that we all think we all think that we know how we grieve until we do, if that makes sense. Oh my gosh, Cece. We all say like what how we're gonna grieve until it does. And I remember like right when it happened, I was like, I don't know if I was on auto mode. I went into this, well, I've got to take care of her family, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And so then, it really hit me. But then I was getting married that year too. So she wasn't gonna be able to be in my wedding because she died. But I couldn't let that ruin the wedding, so I kind of moved on, and then like slowly have dealt with it over the years, but never to the feeling that I've had. I mean, I've had, obviously a grief feeling, but it even piled on more so when I saw her niece and my daughter, and it was just like it was weird. It was weird. It's a moving on but a closing at the same time, if that makes sense. And also trying to remind myself, like, because I know her daughter's going through a lot now because her mom left, which is her sister. But look, her mom left because she's an alcoholic as well, and I believe she's an alcoholic. I don't know if she believes. And we have to understand too that her mom has a lot of undealt with grief. And if you don't deal with it in the right way, it's going to come back. Like I don't believe that grief just goes away. I don't think it just goes away. I think you can push it aside for as long as you want until it eventually is going to come out. And so what I'm trying to do, and my husband has been really good because he's trying to remind me, like, look, you cannot take care of, like, I can't, I just want to, my daughter's friends, I just want to make sure she's okay and do everything. And she just is like, my husband's like, you've got to also know your boundaries, that I can't just like, come in and sweep in and fix everything for her, or make my daughter feel that she's responsible to fix her, if that makes sense. Um, so I make sure, that I try to make sure my daughter doesn't take on that fix it role either. So I just tell her, because she says, well, she doesn't bring up her mom a lot. And I said, just be a friend to her. Don't bring, if she wants to talk about her mom, she'll talk about her. And um, yeah, I bet Beatlemaniac. I mean, I don't know if you got, yeah, like, I don't know Kylie's mom. I don't know if she did something wrong. I don't know. But and the reason I'm using Kylie and Eliza's husband is because that's just the ones that we've seen the most on, on going around on social media right now of all the things they could have done different. And it helps me actually to see some of you guys deal with the same sort of guilt type feelings, or that people that have gone through some of that survivor's guilt. And I gotta tell you guys, it's kind of nice just to be able to do this, speak on something so real with you guys because we don't know each other on the outside of this. So it's just nice to be like, I'm not alone. Somebody else feels the same way that I do, you know? I have a good, yeah, Denise. And you, I mean, you lost your fiance. This is just so scared I'll react with my husband. Yeah, Emily, that's the thing. Denise, really, I would really like to touch on that. In fact, that is one I'd like to do with Jen. Um, if she's still here, Jen is very good with cases like that, and I just because it is pretty, I think she would do well with that. But yeah, it's just thanks, Emily. And if Rena's still here, no one knows grief. I mean, Rena, we all know grief, right? Rena lost. We know she lost a child, and it's just yeah, Sean's Princess exactly. I can't. I finally realized they're called like episodic memories, and it's crazy. I can't drive down that hill because I will get sick to my stomach. It's weird because it's 16 years later, or however, yeah, 16 years later. But there's not a October. Oh, that's part of it. October 1st is her birthday, so I always get a little weird around then too. But there's not a March 9th that goes by that I don't think of her and don't wake up in the middle of the night and think, had I just answered the phone? You know, it's so weird. Jen, look up the case, the White House murders in Texas. That's Denise's fiance was the one killed. And it would just, I don't know, for some reason you're very like good with those type of cases. I would love to cover it with you. My best friend lost her son by a drunk driver and she was shot. It exactly, Cece, it really does. I think just to have somebody say, "Look, I know what it's like to grieve that way," or "I know what it's like to have that survivor's guilt." Like after Columbine, I heard so. I mean, not just the trauma alone for a lot of those kids, but I remember talking to, I think her name's Lindsay. She was a mod saying so many. Can you mention what you refer to when responding to chat? Sure, Sally. Um, Cece was just saying that her best friend's I want to make daughter passed from lost her son to a drunk driver and she was struggling so bad that Cece just said call anytime to vet. Yeah, look it up. It's pretty crazy. But I think that's why I have compassion for Kylie's family and some of these families that deal with this aftermath of grief is because look, I'm choosing to come on here and share a personal story with you. But some of these people that we've seen just dragged through the ringer, even Shanann Watts, was she perfect? Nah. But like, oh man, it's just even the Watts family, you know, whether you like them or not, they still have to grieve. It's just crazy. Grief is just I have never experienced it like I did when she died and from then and then Gil died and it was just yeah, let me send it to you, Jen. Jen, do you have Facebook Messenger? Can you get mine from Britt and then I can message it to you? Because I've got some articles I looked at. Yeah, it's well, good, Sean's princess. It's very powerful. I think you just like, yeah, exactly, Beatlemaniac. You just get in a mode where like, oh, sorry, Sally, Beatlemaniac said I can't watch anything anymore about the Kylie case. Uh, life goes on. We know that life goes on, but then all of a sudden it just stops for a second, and you're like, what is this? Why am I, you go through a season of like a little bit more grief than you expected. And I think I'm just in that season right now. So I appreciate you guys listening to me. And that season, is just that there is some, like we always talked about doing stuff with our kids together or having coffee or all of that stuff. And when I sit and watch her, okay, awesome, Jen, thanks. When I sit and watch Billy's niece play soccer, I looked over and I thought, I'm angry for a second for one, like you got in a car, but I mean, you guys know you could say that about me too, but or I'm angry like you could have just kept calling me, but she did. She called me twice and I'd answer the phone. And you get mad at God. I get mad at God sometimes thinking she was supposed to be here. Like she is supposed to be here watching our girls together. It's weird. So I go from angry to crying to visiting the cemetery to thinking that like it's really not like this. It's so weird. I do that every Okay, so Cece says I do that every Christmas. I automatically go to the memory of spending Christmas at the hospital, and it carries on till January 20th, even though she passed 30 years ago. Yeah, Cece, it's crazy. It is, Sally. It's actually become really traumatic for a lot of people. I've noticed that the Kylie case, a lot of people have pulled away a little bit because it's becoming very actually triggering, like Sally's saying, and um, traumatic for them. And so, like I said the other day, like I don't, if somebody wants to talk about Kylie, more power to them. Just for me, and I'm not holding that against anybody. For me personally, I have to move on because I do feel that I have the platform I have that I really want to focus on is helping people that need, the awareness and um, I do think there's a lot more victims for Cleotha, and I've, found a lot of things I'm going to share tonight that you guys will be like, "Holy cow, are you kidding me?" That I think he has more victims, and if I can help find some of those victims, then I would like to do that. Or, there's so many cases out there that I just have to, for me personally, move on to that. Um, Beatlemaniac, Sally, Beatlemaniac is saying her emotional support human is telling her to drive careful and she hopes you feel better. Exactly, Danielle. Yes, that system failed you, Denise, in your case. I can't wait. Jen is very, very like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, black, not black and white, but she doesn't get involved in like the dramatics of a case, and which makes her very good with some of these more graphic cases, I think, like Denise's fiance. It has Jen. It has Jen. And Jen, I've noticed you've kind of just stepped away from, hey Danielle, from that too. And Danielle, that's exactly what, just I don't know the kind of mother she was. I don't, they seem pretty close, but what I do know is she's grieving. And we can all say that we know what we would do in a grieving type situation, but we really don't, because if you would have told me that when she died, I'd be strong enough to go stand over her casket, to take her mom off her all these things, I would have said you're crazy. I would have said I was going to be in a puddle on the floor, but I wasn't. But if you had said to me that 16 years later my daughter was going to be best friends with her niece and that was going to throw me into complete hysterics, I would have been like, are you out of your mind? So it's just yeah, it's completely nuts. And I just felt like just coming on here and saying to you guys, like, look, I don't know if any of you have felt this way, and here's a really personal story of some of my guilt that I go through, and about how just like grief is such a tricky thing. Who is Lars Axel Theron? I don't know. Yeah, I don't like any circus type cases either. I mean, we kind of saw this a little bit in the Gabby case as well. Yeah, and Denise's case with her fiance that was tragically killed. Oh, Aaron, well, thank you. Yeah, Aaron, you just missed my first 20 minutes of just crying hysterically. But I'm going live tonight about a couple cases. There's some really crazy cases, and I also got a live from somebody pleading with me to cover a case that no one's giving attention to. It's an older gentleman, and I want to make sure we bring awareness to that case tonight to just say, hey, he's missing, he needs some help. So, guys, there was 100 in Eliza's case. There's been like 1,600 some essay assault kidnappings in the last year in Memphis, and on the map, there are so many that are in a radius of where he was. And I know Memphis is a big place. You know, there's a lot of people that do crimes, but I'm telling you, he's got MOs. Cleotha's got an MO. And when I show you the connection that I found between, oh, not between him and Eliza's family, but some of the things, yeah, it's nuts. Oh my gosh, Beatlemaniac. I did hear about the mom murdering her 3 children in New York. Well, Aaron, yeah, you can come on. I gotta go soon for my son, but I'd love you to come up anytime. I totally believe that, S. Hockett. I totally believe that. Hold on 1 second. I've got to answer the phone. It's my aunt because she knows I'm upset. So I'll just tell her I'll call her back. Sorry, y'all. My aunt is like my second mother, so if she knows I'm upset, she's like, "Are you okay?" But yeah, I totally agree, S. Hockett. I think our brain protects us, and yeah, I've learned all about that in psychology, and shuts us off until we can deal with it, and then it comes out. Oh yeah, at Rebellious, everybody be dropping. You know I'm terrible at channels. I always forget. My best friend got hit by a car and died when I was 10. Yeah, Danielle, exactly. Aaron, I completely, Aaron, that seems to be the consensus across the board right now. It is getting, I am a lot better now, Aaron, being able to talk this through for sure. Thank you. I actually feel so much better talking this through with you guys because it just helps to know, like, hey, you're not alone, you know? But Aaron, yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying that of just like that it's really just gotten to a point where they have to step back because it's just causing a lot of trauma to them. And the media doesn't help either, with especially with and look, we're in a true crime community. There's a lot of really awful things that are happening. And I think like even with like Eliza's case, it was almost easier to deal with when you thought it was a conspiracy of some sort. And I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but when you step back and realize that it very likely and most, very potentially was an absolute monster that was let out of jail that tortured her as well as who knows how many other people, and you just think there's no like it's just nonsense, you just I don't know. Denise, yes. Jen, I can't wait till you message me because I'm telling we could even do it on your channel and stuff and get you some more subs. It's Denise's so Denise's case, y'all, is exactly Denise's case. They were let down by law enforcement, similar to the way that Eliza's family and the victims of Cleotha was let down, and it cost her fiance his life. It's and we've talked about that, just gotta do better. And there's also the case Aries Muse, I believe we're gonna look into too. I've got Punkette doing some research on that for me because of there's some tribal things that are a little different as far as the law goes. So um, we do, Aaron. We put our emotions in a box and put it on a dark shelf. Yep. And I'll never forget too, there in mod chat there was a woman, and I'm not going to say her name. She wasn't a mod, but she was part of royalty. And I'm telling you, she lost her son, I believe it was. No, she lost her daughter first to like some rare sudden illness. And I'm not even kidding you, almost a year to the date later, she lost her son in a car accident. And then her husband had just found out he was like had very little left to live because he had like some incredible cancer that was just took it. So exactly, Emily. So you just like think, oh my God, like how does somebody deal with that kind of stuff? And you just do. Like we all always say, we could never do that. You might as well. I always say, you put me in a home if something happened to my one of my kids, but but you don't. You keep going because that's what you have to do. Yeah, Beto, I think doing a panel, open panel one night on grief would be really, really good idea. Because just from reading this chat here to see how many people are going through their own type of grief, I think it's definitely beneficial to let people talk about what they're feeling. I mean, I don't, I would say I couldn't go through what Denise is going through with her fiance's murder and then having to endure a trial in such a public way. It's crazy. But so when people say like, well, Kylie's mom, if that was my daughter, I'd want answers. Well, maybe she does want answers. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. And so what I told somebody was the thing is, it's not our daughter. It's her daughter. And if that's just how she's going to get through with it right now and get through her grief, we need to be okay with that. And I don't mean that against anybody. I honestly don't. I just, people keep saying, if it was my daughter, but it's not. And God forbid it ever happens to your daughter. I hope you can get the answers you want. But at this point, we might just have to be okay with not knowing. And yes, LE failed big time. I mean, massively. 100%. What's hard is when you actually have truthful insight into, okay, yeah, exactly. I'm an empath. Oh, Denise, I know. I'm an empath and just hurt for people. Wow, Aaron, that's crazy. If your mom passed away and it took you so long, but I was so upset with it myself. Yeah. Yeah, Beatlemaniac. Like I said, I had no idea I was going to come on here, cry as hard as I did, and then have you guys all understand it. Like, it's kind of crazy, And like, so that it just made me go, like, what in the heck? When people were like dissecting how Eliza's husband looked in pictures that the media took at the funeral, I'm like, what? Like, what? It's just weird. Like, I don't know how he was feeling, but I did see that he had his little son looking at his little blonde-headed. Oh, my phone just went up. My little blonde-headed son that was looking up at his grandmother who was breaking down, confused, and all I saw was the father looking at his son, trying to maintain composure because when you have kids, you're also trying to be like strong for. That's a whole different ballgame. Denise, so if Jen and I cover your case, yeah, Caddy, me too. Is that gonna put you guys at danger at all or no? And the masses get enraged when they don't get the. So Aaron, so that's what so somebody told me that. Somebody told me that a couple weeks ago. I think it was somebody came in chat that I don't see very often, but they came in and said, "Look, I know we all want a big conspiracy, but I remember reading a post and somebody said, sometimes it's not a conspiracy, sometimes it actually is what it is." And I'm not saying that's the case here, but sometimes because we are that true crime community, we want this big huge conspiracy of craziness and we don't always get it. And so we just move on to the next case that needs help. We pick up other people's rocks, put it. Yes, absolutely. Okay, Denise. Okay, good, Denise. I just want to make sure. I mean, look, rebellious Alexis Gabe, people are criticizing her family all the time for how vocal they are about wanting justice and finding Alexis and stuff. And I see a lot of victim bashing in that. Aaron, I do want, can we do it tonight though? Just because I do have to get off in like 2 minutes. Yes, thank you, Jen. Let's do it on your channel so we can get some subs over there. But I do definitely want you to join, Aaron. Um, but yeah, Emily, yeah. Like even pets. Like I might laugh at my parents or something of how they handle like if one of their pets dies, but to them, it's very real, you know? Yeah, rebellious, exactly. The way they've been treated, like who are we to tell them that they shouldn't need to find their daughter? You do, Aaron? Well, Aaron, maybe, you know what? Maybe we'll do an open panel tomorrow afternoon. You can come up for the grief talk. We'll do it like tomorrow or something. Because I think we really need to do it because I think there's a lot more people than I realize struggling with grief right now. I'll plan that for tomorrow, Aaron. You just tell me when you can tomorrow, and I'll work it around you. But I think that's why Ryan Upchurch bothers me so much too. But I know that he's passionate. I get it. We're all passionate about something, and people don't have to feel the way I do. Yes. So Alexis Gabe's family kept her car, and they were. Thanks, Jen. Thank you too for helping me like feel related. Because I know you feel the same way. Um, yeah, it's just terrible. We don't get to tell people what they keep and what they. Oh, Aaron, because I lost my best friend like 16 years ago in a tragic car accident. She drove drunk, and when she called me to come with her, I didn't answer the phone on purpose because I didn't want to go out, and then she ended up dying. So, my daughter is best friends, just became best friends with her niece, and so it's brought up just a lot of past emotions. Just pissed, yeah. Yeah, Punkette, I think we have to, one thing, I know Natasha's not everybody's cup of tea, but when I was first there and she did true crime, she was very good about teaching mods and stuff, and teaching her research team of uh, follow facts, don't jump to conclusions unless I can back it up with facts. Where that went wrong, I don't know over the years, but she was very much like, hey, we've got to be able to back this up. Let's follow the facts, that kind of stuff. Um, So it definitely in that, I just like to do that because part of what I've learned too with this is like I reached out to the FBI agent and she's willing to totally the retired one, Jennifer, work with me and answer my questions. And sometimes if you let your channel become complete chaos in the other direction of, like exploiting a case, and I'm not speaking to anybody, I'm saying in general, people like that won't come on your channel or victims' families won't come on your channel because they will look back at what you've done and stuff. And that's part of the reason why I don't want to make that my channel because I really want to make sure that I keep it respectable so that I can have guests on, if that makes sense. Because nobody's going to want to come on and talk about their missing child if you've made a case like that be a nightmare. Yeah. But hey, Tia. But anyways, I gotta run, y'all, because my son's gonna be home soon. I promised him we would look for some rocks. Yes, we like to go rock hunting. So, but I will be back on tonight to talk some cases. Tia, come back tonight, and tonight we're going to cover a case, and then I'm going to let anybody on panel that wants to come up in panel and just kind of do a little bit of research together on a couple other cases. So, all right, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, guys. You're awesome. I appreciate you all. Talk soon, guys. Thank you.